Thanks, Alana. Well, there's just a week left before voters head to the polls in the 2024 general election. Friday, November 29th is polling day, exactly 3 weeks from when Taoiseach Simon Harris ended months of speculation by dissolving the coalition government. It's a short but keenly fought campaign as parties and independents attempt to secure as many of the 174 Dáil seats as possible. In this county, 5 seats are up for grabs after the constituency gained a seat in the latest constituency review. Today we host our final in our series of debates focusing on the 16 Mayo candidates. In our debate so far, 12 candidates have set out their stall. Alan Dillon, Mark Duffy, Ciara Keoghan, Martina Jennings of Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil's Dara O'Leary and Lisa Chambers, Sinn Féin's Rose Conway-Walsh and Jerry Murray, Aontú candidate Paul Lawless, Joe Daly of People Before Profit and independent candidates Stephen Kerr and Jerry Loftus. Today it's the turn of the 3 remaining candidates, Councillor Patsy O'Brien, Independent, Chris Maxwell of Independent Ireland and Michéal Boxty Ó Conaill of the Green Party. Now, we had also invited independent candidate Sean Forkin to join us to present his and all of these agendas. Sean has contacted us just a few moments ago to say that he's sorry, but he can't make it today. Now, in each debate, we point out that candidates are responsible for what they say. And we ask you please not to speak or shout over each other, or we'll have to cut your microphone. So we're asking all candidates to please play fair. And as ever, we thank listeners for your questions, and we'll try to get through as many of them as possible. We'll get started in the usual way in less than a minute. What's the single major issue for you ahead of Friday, that's next Friday, polling day, Michéal Boxty?
Well, the issue that's coming up on the door, I suppose, more than anything else, is housing. There's an acute shortage of housing. While the country is booming and the economy is doing very well, unfortunately, it's not distributed so well. And like a lot of people are in need of housing, and housing is a big issue.
OK, thanks for that. And Chris Maxwell, what would you say is the single major issue ahead of Friday for you?
Yeah, on the same line there, housing is a major issue at the minute, along with planning permission in rural Ireland. Now, we have hundreds of people in Australia and America and Canada. They all would like to come home. A lot of them are from farming families. They would like to come home. And we need to open up our planning system so that these people can build their own home on their land. We need them back. We need them back immediately to sort out the housing crisis and to get them back to actually bring the labour home to do this.
So that's your big priority. And Patsy O'Brien, what do you see as the single major issue ahead of Friday?
Well, I say housing, health and infrastructure are the 3 things that's coming up on the doorstep. And indeed, I suppose while we seem to have a lot of money in the country, there seems to be still a lot of what you call poverty within the working class people. And a lot of the middle class people are really squeezed with childcare facilities, USC, and of course all the taxes and PAYE and all these, they're all accumulating and they have less money to spend.
So the cost of living. OK, now Patsy, you've been asked to comment before on the circumstances which led to you being expelled from Fine Gael and you declined to do so. Now, it would be remiss of me not to ask you again in this forum why you, a politician running in the general election here in Mayo, were removed from a party you had represented as a councillor for 20 years back in 2020.
Well, it's very simple for me. I have no comment to make other than all recent publications and comments are being examined by my legal team at present. So that's my final say on that, because this is an ongoing thing that has been on, and I haven't. That's my comment on it, and I'm not going any further on that because I wouldn't be. It'd be unwise of me to say anything at this stage.
Okay, well, I'll just say voters say we deserve to know more about the situation. They're asking, do you accept responsibility for your actions? They're saying, how can voters trust you to represent their interests with integrity given the controversy, and you're not telling them what happened? And basically, that's the kind of views that are coming in from the electorate. Yes?
I just want to say one thing. I'm an independent councillor. I'm independent for the last 5 years. I have put myself before 2 elections in this occasion. In the Senate election, I went forward as an independent candidate.
Yeah, no, but that's just the view of the people.
I want to just say, but I just want to make this
clear. That wanted explanation.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm going to explain this. It's just this one comment on it. I got 220,000 votes in the Senate election. I got in the local elections.
Okay, you're just saying you're an independent candidate, and that's fair enough.
That's right.
And I've just,
but I
but
just
we'll
wanted
move
to make
on.
it clear,
Yes, and we'll move on from that
fine,
then if it's in a legal situation. Now, listeners have asked, and I think it's a good question, particularly in the last 48 hours or so with the snow we've had. Why in County Mayo, every time there's a storm, snow, ice, or even heavy rain, so many householders and businesses are without electricity for protracted periods? Now, at the moment, we have Achill, Gower, Killadoon, Leenane and Newport, all areas with protracted outages. Is it that we have an inadequate infrastructure? They say it seems ridiculous in 2024 that so many are without power so often in the county. And at the same time, government encourages electric homes and people are left frozen, particularly difficult for the elderly and the sick at this time. Now, just your view on that, Chris.
Yeah, I definitely think that the grid has to be upgraded. It's of vital importance to this country. Now, we've seen this problem over the numerous years. Every time there's storms or big disruption, and people are left without. They can't boil a kettle in their house. They cannot look after their elderly. They cannot look after the babies. I mean, if
What's the solution though? What would you do if you were if you were a
money
TD?
needs to be pumped into the grid to upgrade it big time, and the option of putting a lot of it underground should be seriously looked at in this country, especially along the west coast where we're dealing with heavy winds. We're getting the brunt of it all the time, and it's part of the policy that needs to be looked at. Also, there should be more staff employed with the ESB, because more staff, because fair play to them, they're a great bunch of people. They're doing their best in extremely volatile circumstances. But if there was more crews on the ground, that would alleviate a lot of where each area could be. There could be someone sent to Belmullet, there could be someone sent to Glencorrib.
The response might be more immediate.
To Louisburg, yes.
All right, Patsy, that's a good point that Chris makes. The infrastructure in this county should be underground in terms of the amount of wind and rain and snow that we're now getting.
Well, that is true. Like, I mean, we've seen that, and today is a typical example in South Mayo, like where crews can't get to a situation. There's cows there that hasn't been milked for 3 days, and it's not good enough. And again, we're encouraged by government in relation to all of this and
Well, what would you do if you were a TD?
Like what I said, it's a state body. We need to put more money into it. We need to look at the situation in relation to where we can underground in certain places, and we have to upgrade the system because there has to be a better system. I mean, we're talking about, look, this is a country we have to take from other countries where there's a lot of wind, a lot of snow. What are we doing wrong in this country? That's what we had the questions that we have to put forward if we're elected to Dáil Éireann.
Find answers
and find
too.
out exactly and see where we can make progress on this matter.
Okay, and Michéal Boxty, I mean, that's an interesting one about the electricity. We're being encouraged, not to burn the turf or anything else, and no chimneys in houses. And then when these protracted outages come, there's nothing for a family.
Absolutely, and it is infrastructure without a doubt. I remember being in Barcelona a good few years ago, and there was a massive electrical storm, lightning, and the lights didn't even blink, and I was amazed at this. And after I came back, I was asking an electrician, how could that be?
Yeah,
and he
how
said,
can they be so far ahead of us?
And he said because it's done properly. And that brings it home, the difference between the two, that we need to put the resources into the grid. Now, we can't say that we do have the money. We're running massive surpluses, and rather than using those massive surpluses to buy votes, it should be put into infrastructure. And this is part of the infrastructure that it needs to be put into.
Okay, Chris, you want to say something?
That now, as I say, we've seen the situation now in the last couple of days. I've had numerous people on to me, carers, minding elderly people, that they cannot adjust the beds now in the houses, the orthopaedic beds, because the electricity is not working. They cannot they have electric cookers, they have electric ranges. Nothing works. This is where, and we have to go back to it again, and I know Boxy is here beside me, but if you have your turf fire in your house and your chimney, you can boil your pot of water to make a cup of tea. You can do it, get food for the baby.
Okay,
That's
good
a
point,
very
isn't it,
point
Michéal
that-
Boxty? I mean, at least if you had the turf, you could boil the water.
Well, turf is not necessary. I mean, you can also boil the kettle on an electric cooker or electric ring or something like that.
But if you don't have the electricity, you can't.
You can on a gas ring or a gas cooker.
If you have the gas, yeah.
Well, I mean, if you want to have an alternative, it's
You
not
would be
essential
saying
to
gas.
have turf, you know. And anyway, I think I don't want to rerun and bore our listeners rerunning my points.
Okay,
with,
you're saying the gas is an alternative.
Yeah, I mean,
all right.
that's it.
Patsy, your view
Like,
on
I mean,
that?
first of all, we're too dependent on electricity for a start. We're dependent on everything on electricity, and I suppose, like, I mean, if we need to change our attitude. We need to maybe look at other alternatives besides that as well, and then maybe there should be generators in houses. Maybe,
Okay,
you know, there's things we can look at.
We'll take a break. We'll be back after that here in the studio with 3 of the candidates that will be on the ballot paper on Friday. And you're welcome back to our election debates ahead of polling day a week from today. And we're joined in studio by Independent Councillor Patsy O'Brien. Independent Ireland Councillor and candidate to all of these, of course, is Chris Maxwell. And then we have Green Party candidate Michéal Boxty Ó Conaill. Now, questions, we'll try and continue with them. A person has sent in here, a listener: I run a small hospitality business in West Mayo. Can I ask each candidate what they do if elected to provide better support for small businesses? Patsy?
Well, first of all, anyway, I have made a call on this in relation to the VAT to be reduced to 9%, and I couldn't understand why they didn't do it in the budget, and I just want to make it. They've made announcements since to reduce it to 11%, but they couldn't do it in the budget, and I just want to make that point. And the point is that they need to support businesses in relation to tax relief, and they need to help people that's taken on to people as well. They need to give more grants to people to employ people as well. They're not doing enough for people, and the small businesses in rural areas, I've always said this, they should be supported in some grant system. We've supported farmers, and now, which we totally agree with, in relation to grants to keep stock and whatever. We should be able to do something for rural villages.
Business, by its definition, is business. You're supposed to be able to do your own business.
Yeah, but do you want, or does anyone want to have villages without a shop or a pub? I mean, this is the thing. Rural Ireland is dying, so we need to support those small areas. We have shops, and I'm not going to name them out because I wouldn't do that to villages. But you know, and I know, there's villages in Mayo that hasn't a shop.
And we know the great service it is when there is a local shop. Absolutely.
I mean, this is what it's all about.
Okay, Chris,
lack of services.
what would you do to help
Yeah,
them?
listen, I'd agree totally there with a lot of what Patsy has says. We definitely need a VAT reduction. The other big issue is, and plenty of people have onto me, the rate situation in this county is crazy. We definitely need that to be looked at, because small businesses, can it be...
But it's just been looked at. Isn't there a total review just completed nationally?
It needs to come down. We need a major reduction for small businesses now. Let the others, the big businesses, get on their own thing, but small businesses around this county needs to be looked after. If we take the tourism, the hospitality, if we are going to encourage thousands of tourists to come to this country, they want to come and drive around our countryside. They want to be able to go into pubs, shops, museums, bits and pieces. But if all these businesses close down, our country is going to be left desolate, like, you know, and the tourists will get fed up with this driving around, and they want to talk and engage with people.
And the people who live in these communities want the services.
Yes, of course they do. And the USC needs to be abolished, for another thing. And there's also one more thing. A lot of these people are self-employed. Now, that's a bunch of people. I'm included in that myself. We are not being looked after the same as ordinary employed people are. We have no backup. If we get sick, we are on our own. I think that's...
And this has been highlighted for years and years, and yet the situation continues.
No, because that's where Independent Ireland will be pushing for these things, because no one has done anything about these situations.
Okay, Michéal Boxty, I see you agreeing with what Chris said there.
Yeah, well, I can't believe how much we have in common here, despite being maybe on opposite ends of a lot of arguments.
Only turf divides you.
Yes. No, just to get back to it, I have to agree with Patsy to start with. Like my main issue is rural regeneration, and exactly what Patsy is talking about. That, you know, no money is being spent in rural Ireland. No incentive has been given for people to live and work in rural Ireland. And if the infrastructure and if the money isn't put into rural Ireland, people aren't going to stay there. They're not going to live there, not going to have families there. Now, with regards to the rates, what the Green Party would propose is that there would be 100% rates refund for businesses under 15,000, and for businesses with rateable valuation of €15,000, and with businesses between 15 and 20,000 that they'll get a 50%.
And that would seem reasonable, but we hear this all the time that nonetheless, is not the EU insists that you can't do these kind of things. You can't let rural areas or particular areas get their VAT reduced, and that's the reality in which we now live.
I'm not talking about VAT. I'm talking about
rates. Well,
refund.
Rates is what I mean as well. Surely, these things are European led, so we can say, oh, yeah, it should be reduced in County Mayo, but it's not going to happen if the EU says you can't do it.
I'm not even talking about County Mayo. I think for the whole country this should be the case. And like one of the things again,
you could do things nationally, but you can't do things locally.
No, I'm not talking about doing it locally. I'm talking about doing it nationally, and it's the party policy for the country. But again, I agree with the two men here that you cannot treat, like, it's great when you bring out new rules and for everybody, but like, you cannot treat a pub or a restaurant the same as you treat Google and Intel and the big players.
Makes
now,
sense.
one other thing I would say for that what I would be in favour of, and which happens to a certain degree already, that shops and businesses like that they be given solar. Because an awful lot of
solar panels for their energy to reduce the cost.
Yes, because solar panels are a big help to shops, and because they have huge freezers.
Yes, and energy costs are probably one of the biggest costs.
I've gone through the roof when the war started. Now I know of somebody of a particular shop, and it's worked out very well.
Okay, all right, Patsy, you want to get in there?
I just want to say one thing in relation to Europe, and you've rightly hit the nail on the head. But do we always have to do what Europe tells us?
Well, I don't know, but we seem to.
Is there anyone making a fight for Ireland? I do think about this many times. We're taking it every day we're going. It doesn't seem to be anything out there for people to say, well, is this suiting our country? Do we fight in Europe? Like, there's nobody, we don't get records of anyone thumping the table in the European Parliament to say Ireland shouldn't be this way or shouldn't be that way. So we're suffering because we don't have the proper representation especially for rural Ireland, and where we come from, a rural county, all over, spread over. It's a huge area, and we're being badly deprived because of European regulations and bureaucracy and red tape and all that goes with it.
Yeah.
Chris?
I agree with what Patsy said there, but I can guarantee you that independent Ireland, that's one of our cornerstones. We will fight tooth and nail for rural Ireland. Now, I'll tell you what's going on, and go back to your thing there about the small businesses. Small businesses need to be supported. Can you imagine the amount of money that's been wasted in this country at the minute and over the last 5 to 10 years? If that money was redirected to the small businesses across rural Ireland, we would have a thriving country. Take your bike shed. Take the hut they had up.
So you want more accountability on public spending?
Take 70,000 for a set of curtains above in Dublin Castle. Sure, it's a crazy situation.
Okay.
All that money should be channeled into rural Ireland.
Absolutely. I think that many would agree with you on that, but at any rate, time is caught up with us. In less than a minute now, I'm going to ask each candidate what you see as your greatest achievement to date for County Mayo, either as an elected representative or as a community activist. Patsy?
Well, what I see in County Mayo is the failure to secure proper funding for the R332, failure to secure funding for the Ballinrobe bypass, failure to have...
Your greatest achievement to date.
Well, you want my greatest achievement? I'm talking about the failures first, but I will give you my greatest achievement.
That's what I want in 30 seconds, your greatest achievement.
It goes back to the first term that I was in Mayo County Council, that we achieved a road that was blocked in the Neil between the Neil and Kilmaine. Out of 21 years, it was 7 years flooded that people couldn't pass. And that was a great indictment to the people and to the Mayo County Council and the Board of Works. It was something that we had to fight tooth and nail. And again, European law is very near scuttled the whole out of it as well.
Okay, so that's your greatest achievement.
That was one of the greatest achievements
Chris
I had,
Maxwell,
and many more.
Yes, of course, but I'm asking for the greatest one. Yeah, Chris Maxwell.
Yeah, well, at present, I'm only a couple of months elected as a Mayo County Councillor, and already the sewage treatment plant that was promised for the last 20 years for Newport, and no one has done anything about it. We have that brought to Europe now, and
we just still don't see the plant itself.
The European Union is going to call. They're going to call the Irish government and Uisce Éireann in now very soon. And Kieran Mullooly, I want to thank him, our MEP with Independent Ireland, for helping to get this brought to the top of the agenda. It will not wait till 2030. We'll have that sorted in the next 2 years, hopefully the most.
Okay, that's the promise. And then Michéal Boxty Ó Conaill. Okay, gentlemen.
Well, but to make a long story short, when I was about 18 or 19 years old, I started a boxing club. And after about 2 years, I immigrated to Dublin, had to go to Dublin for economic reasons. But I still, two clubs, the Golden Gloves Club and the Gisala Boxing Club came out of that. Now, even while I was in Dublin, I was still involved with the Gisala Club, and when I moved back to Mayo, I slotted back into that boxing club again. So and I serve as their treasurer at the minute, and I've
good stuff. Community sport and boxing being your choice.
It has a big impact on kids.
Okay, I have to. Sorry, I have to thank you all.
Can I compliment Michéal?
They can always compliment anyone.
Not to forget Councillor Jerry Kyle and Johnny the Yankee.
Okay, for boxing. Okay, all right. Thanks to Patsy, to Chris and to Michéal for joining us this lunchtime, and good luck to all 16 candidates in the county who have put their name on the ballot paper in this constituency. The power on Friday next now is completely in the hands of the voter. That's you, the listener, and we encourage everyone to use your vote. And thanks for your many questions and your company, and back to Ryan at the sports desk.